Learning is inherently enjoyable to a child. They love to learn. They're naturally curious.
The key is looking for what grabs their interest.
Just letting their curiosity take them where they want.
It's running with enthusiasm.
They've got to love it. They've got to enjoy it.
By observing my own children, I'm learning at the same time as well.
I think one of the most important things for me is that I give the child a love of learning.
Yeah, teaching really isn't the word anymore.
It's been estimated by many different research studies that a young adult entering the workforce today can be expected to have 5 to 7 career changes in their lifetime. Now, this is not just job changes. These are career changes. 70% of those jobs haven't even been created yet. There'll be entirely new jobs, entirely new functions that don't even exist today. And so the art is to continually learn. What it requires is a relationship to learning. They've got to love it. They've got to enjoy it. They've got to really value it.
A child is naturally curious. Their motivation is simply to understand the world around them. The Montessori school aims not to fill the child with facts, but to cultivate their natural desire to learn. Children to the age of 6 have a unique aptitude for learning, an absorbent mind. They'll learn to walk and talk with no formal instruction. And this happens naturally when the child uses his senses to begin investigating their environment. The ease of learning occurs during sensitive periods when a child is naturally fascinated with an aspect of their environment. It's easier for a child to learn during these times than at any other times in their life.
They're very sensitive to language from the age of 2 to 5, and they really want to read. So, and we encourage that, and the Montessori environment, the way it is set up, encourages children to do their own learning and also picks up on this sensitivity.
These ideas were developed by Maria Montessori, Italy's first female doctor. Now, her experiments in education led her to develop a philosophy that aims to enable each child to reach their full potential. As a result, the Montessori approach is based on following the child. She believed that the hand was the child's chief teacher and reasoned that providing classroom materials that could enhance the child's natural understanding would enrich their learning experience by responding to their senses. These materials give concrete form to abstract concepts like fractions and verbs, which become not just ideas but objects they can hold in their hands. The Montessori classroom allows access to these materials whenever the child is ready and interested.
It is their classroom. It's not my classroom, it is their classroom.
In the Montessori class, the children don't follow the teacher. The teacher is known as a directress, and her work is based on an observation of the child rather than a prepared curriculum. She's trained to recognise periods of sensitivity and will guide children towards activities that they're ready to engage in. The Montessori materials are self-correcting and allow the child to discover their own errors by continued experimentation with the objects. The emphasis is on active learning, where the process is more important than the outcome. The environment is non-competitive and allows the child to interact socially with children of different ages. The older children teach younger ones and inspire them to try new activities. The children take responsibility for themselves and are encouraged to care for their classroom environment and keep it clean and organised. They sweep, wipe tables and wash dishes and always place items back in the correct place when they're finished using them. The Montessori classroom gives the child the opportunity to develop skills and interests and social relations he may not have in the home environment. The classroom activities are arranged into 4 categories, each with its own designated space in the room. The activities in the area of practical life enable them to practice independence and concentration. These exercises develop life skills through reality-based activities. The practical life shelves allow children to become engrossed in and then complete the activities that they're naturally attracted to. These activities establish the Montessori procedure for choosing work and returning materials to the proper place. Artistic expression through drawing and painting is also a part of this area. Activities like sewing cards and the polishing of objects develop fine motor skills. Food preparation is an important part of practical life curriculum, which develops of exactness in the use of materials and working in definite sequence. These activities develop muscle control and coordination through organisation. Sweeping requires cooperation and develops respect for the environment and can also be encouraged at home. Washing is not only a practical life skill, but also one that shows care of the environment and social responsibility. This child folds the cloth and puts it on the correct shelf, ready for the next child to use. Outside time is an important part of the day where children are free to climb and run and throw. Here they develop large motor coordination and practical social skills. Care of the outside environment is as important as the inside. Children look after the garden plants and have a planted vegetable garden which they weed and water. Sensorial activities help children classify and order the many impressions they receive about the world around them. These activities provide a key to understanding the world and provide a basis for abstract thought. The children bring the skills developed in the practical life activities to their experiments with sensorial materials. The constructive triangles are a sensorial activity which gives children practical experience of geometry and an unconscious accumulation of geometric facts through repetition and experience. Colours are presented to the children in three ways: matching and naming and then grading with the same shade. The pink towel is a sensorial activity to refine the concept of size and also introduces descriptive terms such as large, larger and largest. These children are engaged in a language activity, reading then placing the classroom nouns in the appropriate places in the room. Here a child has chosen to complete a verb box. This is a language activity encouraging children to learn about the parts of speech by being actively involved in the action. The large movable alphabet is an important step in the writing process. This gives them their first experience of writing stories going from left to right and down on the page. Later, language activities teach them spelling and grammar rules. After working repeatedly with sandpaper letters and the movable alphabet, the children are able to write with pencil and paper. Children are exposed to geography from an early age. Here, two children are painting the continents on a map of the world. The natural world is a very important aspect of the Montessori classroom, encouraging a caring attitude towards animals, plants and the environment. Tasks are programmed so that each new step is built on what the child has already mastered. If a child has access to mathematical equipment at an early age, they can easily assimilate the many facts and skills of mathematics. The child's skill in this area is developed by concrete representation of fractions. The golden bead materials are a concrete representation of the decimal system. They're used to teach place value, and it is an introduction to the process of addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. Sequin board A is a piece of equipment to help the child learn the names of the teen numbers with a concrete representation of the quantity. Here a child places numerical values on the thousand chain. It gives the child a visual perspective and a linear representation of the quantity of 1,000.
It's important for a parent to recognize that they too are an educator, that they are in essence a co-educator along with the teachers of the school. And one of the major ways a child learns is by role modeling. They take a look at their parents, they take a look at teachers, they take a look at their peers, and they start to copy, they start to imitate and role model. And the most influential role model is the parent. Do the parents value learning? Do they appreciate it? Do they enjoy it themselves? When a mistake is made, do they relate to it as a failure, or do they relate to it as something that we can learn from? So a parent has to become very active about that. They have to recognize and appreciate just how much influence that they have. Many parents make the mistake of being too passive in their child's education. They just send their child to school, and by default they think the school will take care of the child's education, whereas they don't recognize that they are primarily responsible for their child's education, and then they become very active in it. Your child learns at school, they learn informally in the home, they learn with their friends, they learn what happens when you go out into the world, doing shopping. See all of that as your child's education. And it requires the parent to relate to the child beyond their own past conditioning. They have to continually think, how do I want my child to relate to learning? How do I want them to relate to school and to homework and to making mistakes and learning from them? What's the ideal way? And start to role model that for the child. To help your child, you don't have to be the subject knowledge expert. You just have to love learning and love finding out. As a parent, you too are continually learning. You don't have to know everything. It's okay to not know. You want your child to learn that it's okay to not know. You want your child to also learn, based on the way you role model, that when you don't know, well, let's learn. Let's go find out. That's the exciting part. Organize your time. Invest your time to be with your child and to help them learn. Organize yourself, your life, to make time to be with your child. If you really intend to have the best for your child in education, in helping them learn and grow, you have to become actively involved. You have to be aware, and you have to make the time.
So now it's not me passing information on to them directly, but helping facilitate ways for them to find that information out themselves, and they are so much more excited about that.
He's doing really, really well at school, and I think that's had, being at Montessori's really had a lot to do with that. He loves school, loves it, and I think a lot of that love of learning was developed here.
I've learned that you cannot set a program for your children and decide, I want my child to learn to do this by this time, to do this now, that you have to go with them.
So we always made sure that the girls are able to have access to all the things that they need, that they can do things for themselves.
You do presume, well, they're so little, they can't be involved. And that's been one of the biggest learning curves for me, to actually change my view of going, they're not the same as us. They are, they're just this high. They're actually just as determined to be independent as we are.
I have friends whose children have started school and they still don't do things for themselves that my girls can already do.
I think it's just a great foundation for the reading and the maths too. Some of these children are doing times tables at 4. That's amazing to me.
The fact that they're happy and want to come every day, if they're happy and they're progressing, then you don't need anything else.
It's fun. It's exciting. You're going to learn something new. And as you learn, you get to learn how to live life more, because all of life is going to be about learning. To master the art of learning is to master the art of living.